It was nearly midnight when Daniel sat alone in his tiny apartment, staring at a blank notebook. The city outside was alive, horns blaring, lights flickering, but inside, it was dead quiet. His phone buzzed with another, "Sorry, we've decided to move forward with another candidate." It was the fifth rejection that week. He threw the phone aside, ran his hands through his hair, and muttered to himself, "Why does nothing ever work out for me?" He had done everything the world said you should do, worked hard, stayed polite, showed up early, and tried his best. Yet here he was, broke, jobless, and questioning if life was simply unfair. That night, as he stared at his reflection in the dark window, a single question echoed in his mind: what does it actually take to get what you want? The next morning, he decided to change something, not his luck, but his mindset. He walked into a small cafe, ordered a cheap black coffee, and pulled out his notebook again. This time, instead of writing down goals, he wrote down why he wanted them. "I want a job," he scribbled, then crossed it out and wrote, "I want to feel like I matter." That hit him differently. For the first time, he realized that wanting something wasn't enough, you had to understand why it mattered to you. Daniel started studying people who seemed to get whatever they wanted. He read biographies of self-made leaders, watched interviews of athletes and entrepreneurs, and listened to old motivational tapes. What he discovered changed everything. People who got what they wanted weren't lucky, they were relentlessly consistent. They failed, adapted, and kept going long after others quit. So Daniel made a promise to himself: no matter how many times I fall, I won't stop until I win. His first step was small. He decided to learn digital design. Every morning before dawn, he woke up at 5 a.m. and practiced online tutorials using a borrowed laptop. He was terrible at first, colors clashed, designs looked messy, and his first few clients from freelance sites gave him bad reviews. Each rejection stung, but Daniel didn't stop. Instead, he took every failure as a teacher. When others gave up after their first setback, Daniel treated his mistakes like gold. "Okay, that didn't work, what can I learn from it?" he'd whisper. Slowly, his designs improved. He got better clients. He built a small portfolio. For the first time, people started noticing his work. But just when things began to rise, life decided to test him again. His laptop crashed one morning, completely dead. All his files, projects, and savings were gone. It felt like the world had reset his progress to zero. For hours, he sat in silence, staring at the broken screen. Then he stood up, grabbed his jacket, and went out for a long walk. The cold air hit his face, and he thought, maybe this is where most people quit. But I'm not most people. That night, he found an old friend who lent him a used laptop. It was slow, the screen flickered, but it worked, and that was enough. He got back to work. Months passed, and Daniel started gaining momentum. His clients grew, his confidence soared, and for the first time in his life, he wasn't chasing results, he was chasing growth. People around him began asking, "What's your secret? How do you always bounce back?" Daniel smiled and said, "I stopped waiting for permission. I just decided I was done playing small." But success didn't mean ease. With growth came pressure, bigger projects, tighter deadlines, tougher critics. There were days when he doubted himself again, when the voice in his head whispered, "You're not good enough." Yet every time that voice rose, Daniel replied with the same answer, "Watch me." He learned that you don't get whatever you want by wishing. It happens when your actions speak louder than your excuses. When you show the world that you're serious, the world starts taking you seriously. Years later, Daniel stood on stage at a design conference, sharing his journey. The crowd listened as he told his story, not as a man who got lucky, but as someone who refused to give up. "People think getting what you want means controlling life," he said. But it's the opposite. It's about controlling yourself, your focus, your habits, your persistence. The world will always test you, but it can't defeat you unless you stop showing up. He paused, scanning the audience, and continued, "You can have anything you want, anything, but not until you're willing to become the person who deserves it. That's the real work." The room went silent. Then applause erupted, not just for his success, but for his honesty. That night, as Daniel walked back to his hotel, he smiled at how far he'd come, from a man staring